Welcome to a new episode of MELT. I'm Ritvika Gupta reporting from my home. Continuing our coverage from Zee MELT 2020, this week we'll be presenting highlights from an interview by Anant Rangaswami, editor of MELT, with Suresh Narayanan, chairman and managing director at Nestlé India. With over 30 years of experience in the FMCG industry, Suresh Narayanan joined the board of directors of Nestlé India as managing director in 2015. Today, he will be sharing why leaders need to demonstrate empathy in the midst of an uncertain crisis and how organizations can prepare for the new normal. Let's get ready to melt with Suresh Narayanan.
Suresh, you've spent a lot of time talking about empathy in the post-coronavirus world. You're talking about empathy later. I'm not saying you didn't have empathy earlier. Why are you spending so much time on empathy? When I say you, I mean Suresh Narayanan personally, and Nestle India as a whole. Why are you spending so much time on empathy?
The pandemic, Anant, is a completely different animal. We don't know when it will end. People say, yes, we'll get the vaccine and we'll get the cure and all that, but we don't know when that's going to happen. And we certainly do not know what will be the deeper consequences on economy, on society, on the way in which people interact during this entire interregnum. So what are we left with as human beings? We are not left with rule books. We are not left with standard operating procedures, but we are left with human-to-human contact as being the only way forward to navigate this dark tunnel and to navigate us from point A to point B. And that is why empathy is so important in leadership. You can be calm and collected and still not be empathetic. But you can be calm and collected and still feel a lot of empathy, which means that you have to genuinely feel for fellow humans. Number two is you must have the capability to understand their point of view. And most importantly, as a leader, you must want to do something about it. You can't just sit there and say, I feel your pain. But then you say, look, I'm sorry, but I can't do anything about it.
Tell me things that you have done about it. For example, up to now, you've been talking about empathy. Tell me, if I was a stakeholder of Nestle, whether as an employee or as a dealer, distributor, or somebody working in your supply chain, tell me how I would have seen or experienced Nestle's empathy.
I think empathy stems also a lot from, it must have the fertile ground for culture in order to be manifested in action. And I believe that at Nestle globally and locally, we are blessed with a company that has a very strong compass of purpose and values. And I think the value of respect for us, which means respecting each other, respecting ourselves, respecting diversity and respecting the future are at the core of our relationships. Ethical honesty, a single-minded purpose towards the consumer, and a capability to work in the community, in society, has been the hallmark of Nestle in all these years. So what have we done? What are the few things that we have done in this pandemic? I think number one for me, Anant, and I mentioned this to you the last time, more than business or business results, the biggest issue for me, the biggest challenge for me, and the biggest ask of my leadership was a capability to protect my people as best as I could. So protecting my people, their security, their well-being, their state of mind, in a sense, has been a very, very important task for me as a leader. And I believe that we are on that journey, and we have done whatever we could in order to ensure that in a work from home situation, people are as comfortable as they can be, and also to ensure them that their lives and their jobs are not at stake. And I think that is an important ask of a leader. I am blessed in Nestle to be in a relatively better position as compared to many other industries and companies. And therefore, the first assuage that I gave my employees was, your jobs are safe, your livelihoods are safe, which means for me, not just income, but your self-respect is safe. We also addressed certain other communities that were extremely important to Nestle. Anant, we are a fast-moving consumer goods company, and we have many hundreds and thousands of distributor salesmen, people at the front line, who are modest people. They earn anywhere between 10 and 12,000 rupees. They have families. They go out each day into the shops and they distribute our products. So one of the first actions, and I believe I'm very proud that Nestle India took that initiative very early in the game. We said that to protect these people, to protect any untoward harm that might come to them, we will insure these people against COVID for a 3 to 6 month period. And that's exactly what we have done. So that should any crisis befall a distributor salesman, it is capable that there will be an insurance that might, at least to a certain extent, defray the financial implications on the family. Similarly, we did, this was called Nestle Suraksha program that we had. Similarly, we had a Nestle Salman program. A Salman program is for our frontline operators, for our workers in our factories. You know, these people have come to work from day one, Anant, and that's where culture trumps any kind of strategy that you might have. They have come for every single day, starting from the first day of the pandemic. They have continued to work so that I'm able to service the consumer with their much loved brands. So we said for them, we must have a program to not only honor them, but to also give them some financial remuneration so that it is worth the risk that they are taking to come to the place of work. While we have the highest standards of safety, security, sanitization, and social distancing, yet they are coming and heeding a national call to come and work. And I think that is important. Similarly, we deal with many thousand MSMEs, almost 4 to 5,000 suppliers is what we deal with as a company. On almost 10 to 15% of them, you would call them the micro and small and medium enterprises, so the MSMEs. What we have done from day one, Anant, and this is a mandate that I have taken personally and ensured that it works in the rest of the organization, is to try and see that each one of them is taken care of in terms of supplies, in terms of orders, in terms of payments and the promptness of payments, in terms of help and support in starting their operations, relevant training inputs in order to ensure that social distancing, that sanitization, and that safety is maintained at all points in time in their units. We have taken them as part of the family, and as I keep saying this, Anant, I believe that Nestle should be like a banyan tree. We should protect everyone that comes under its shade. And I think this is the time when corporate compassion, this is the time when reaching out to the community. Talking of reaching out to the community, we have conducted numerous programs for feeding of the disadvantaged people through Akshay Patra and through various other NGOs who are doing a very, very noble task. We have reached out to ensure that people are fed, that grocery kits are given to them. We have looked at purchase of PPEs. We have contributed to the Narayana Hridayalaya Foundation for the purchase of ventilators. My employees came together in a voluntary manner and donated part of their salaries, and we collected about 25 million rupees and gave it to the Indian Red Cross so that we are able to buy PPEs and also certain other important equipment. We have reached out to local authorities. Anant, we talk about doctors and about healthcare workers who are doing an absolutely outstanding, selfless job. But have you thought about that policeman there? Have you thought about the law enforcer who goes out every single day to protect the streets and to ensure that we are safe? So we try to reach out to them. We gave our products, our ready-to-drink products, our Milo, our coffee, our noodles, various chocolates, various products of ours, so that at least in that dreary day, they have one happy moment. I think their task of being empathetic can be put into action in numerous ways. And I'm extremely proud that we have done it. Last but not the least, this is the time when an entire generation coming out of universities and coming out of business schools and out of technology institutions are facing a bleak future. Jobs offers have been rescinded. Internships have been cancelled. Young people have been left high and dry with no hope for the future. So we said as a company that apart from the the Nestle internships that we conduct every single year, which was conducted this year too. We announced 1,000 Nesterships, which is 1 month internship programs that youngsters could sign on to. This is anybody in their final year of graduation or indeed post-graduation or any technology course, as the case may be. They could apply through Internshala for these 1,000 internships. These are internships which are paid internships. These are internships where there are formal charters of projects. They actually work on projects. They gain the experience. At the end of it all, they're also given counseling on CV writing, on interview skills, in order to make them more employable. I think this is again the task that a company has to do at this time. I'm delighted that the first batch of Nesterns, as we call them, 326 of them have just graduated after doing their first month. Now we are on to 260 of the next batch. We will go up to 1,000, and who knows, if you're really enthused by it and if you really see merit in this for the youngsters, I might even choose to expand this program substantially more.
Right. Suresh, you know, empathy and stuff like that, it comes at a cost. So how do you balance the cost of empathy for an organization and the shareholder value that automatically takes a hit because there's a cost? There's a new cost which didn't exist in your normal, shall we say, cost sheet for any product.
Look, I can only say in all humility and in my experience, Anant, no shareholder has thrived at the cost of the employees of a company.
Right.
I can't think of any organization where employees have been trampled upon, where partners have been trampled upon, where they have been left to the winds, and shareholders have thrived.
Right.
I think corporations and companies depend on the lifeblood of people and their energies and their commitment and their passion and their imagination in order to deliver results. All that we have done is we have looked at every head of cost. I have looked at all the non-people related costs. Remember, Anant, I told you, I don't want a single job to be sacrificed. So we said we'll protect all the people related costs. We will take out the non-people related costs, travel, conference, in the short term, advertising and promotion expense, other overhead costs, administration costs. You know, there are zillions of costs that an organization carries that can be questioned and that can be defrayed. So we looked at postponing, removal, or indeed completely doing away with the cost head for the future. That, in some sense, is also paying for some of the other initiatives that we choose to protect. I think that an empathy comes at a price, but empathy also means prioritization. You have to prioritize what is important. And for me, my people, my purpose, and my partnerships are the single most important priorities in my life today. And that's what I want to stick to.
Tell me all the things that Nestle India is doing at this stage. Do you think there's an upside for you other than, you know, the happiness of your people and the well-being of your people? Is there a business upside to everything you're doing?
Look,
or is that something you don't calculate?
One of the things, Anant, that this pandemic has thrown up is a couple of consumer behaviors, I think, which is important.
Right.
Because, you know, for a company like mine, we are walking the path with the consumer. A few things that have happened. Number one, of course, is the obvious one, that the out of home has taken a very serious, has been impeded very, very seriously. And in-home consumption has, in fact, increased dramatically. That means that all those brands, and I have numerous brands that have got a fairly strong footprint in home consumption, those have taken an uptick. So therefore, that's where we are working, whether it is on Maggi or Nescafe, on Kit Kat, on Munch, on Milkmaid, you know, various brands of ours every day, numerous brands of ours are working in that space to enhance in-home consumption. But number two, the proclivity towards buying digitally through e-commerce has increased dramatically. Our own share of business, which used to be about 1.5% about a year back from e-commerce, today is almost touching 4%. So we have seen dramatic growth in e-commerce. We have used that as an engine for parts of our portfolio. And in fact, in the recent the big days that Amazon and Grofers and others had, almost 22 of our brands participate. So we are seeking greater engagement in e-commerce as well. Number three is there is a great focus from consumers on brands with trustworthiness, with credibility, and with equity. Our brands are extremely old and very, very trusted with consumers. And I think that is one of the things that is also playing to our favor. Fourth, consumers are talking increasingly about nutrition, about better nutrition products, and about a word that was not there earlier to this extent in their lexicon, the word immunity. Today, immunity for the self, for the family is becoming extremely important. In all these areas, Anant, we have core competence as the world's largest food, beverage, and nutrition company to bring to bear the weight of our R&D and technology and our knowledge in order to come out with products and come out with services that could benefit consumers. So I do see a stronger engagement from the company. I do see opportunities for the company, but I will do it ethically, honestly, empathetically, taking along with me my people, my partners, and my purpose wherever I go. And I think that is the core of who we are. And yes, shareholders do get their returns. Nestle is one of the prized shares on the stock market. We have a lot of respect. We have a lot of credibility, and I think I'm here to protect it as well. So it is not to say that I'm not going to be a businessman anymore. I will be a businessman, but with a heart, and I think that is important.
A lot of habit changes that we are seeing in the post-pandemic era. If I ask you to try and bucket them into permanent change that we will see from now, or temporary change which will end perhaps when the vaccine is found, or when we have a cure, or whatever that might be. Can you bucket them into these two?
I think two or three things will probably stick around, Anant, if I were to hazard a guess for the future. Number one is, I think the focus on quality, trustworthiness, safety, and value. I think this is not going to change. Earlier, consumers were looking at experimenting a lot with brands, flirting with brands, different brands that came on. Now, I think the behavior is becoming, let me try, let me use brands which are safe, which are trustworthy, which have been around for a while, and where I know that there are no chances of any kind of misdemeanor. So I think that's one that's going to stay. Number two, in-home consumption is here to stay. I don't think we're going to run out in a hurry and occupy all the bars and all the spots in hotels and all the entertainment places in a hurry, definitely, which means that in-home consumption is going to be fairly strong. Number three, the quest for nutrition and immunity, I believe, is not a short-term game. It is a long-term game. Number four is, I think, as far as e-commerce is concerned, I believe that it is here to stay. It will be an important engine for growth. Organized trade, and you're seeing a lot of shuffle happening in the organized trade with recent announcements. I think that is where the consolidation and recalibration will take place. But I believe that the mom and pop stores, the humble kirana, whom I'm extremely fond of because that is where I was brought up in my young days. I think the humble kirana will rise once again and will become important because of proximity, because of assortment, because of service parameters, delivery, etc., etc. And also e-commerce would be important. What might undergo a change, if I do hope and pray that the economy revives and that incomes revive, is probably some of the down trading that we are seeing across in some categories. That might actually reduce, and consumers might come back to buying and seeking better value, and also seeking the higher packs and better and more of premium brands as they go along. That, I believe, is possibly happening because of the situation on jobs and incomes at this stage.
A lot of your products are largely in the sort of impulse category. Now, if we stay at home, all of us stay at home, and we do all our shopping from home on e-commerce apps and so on, how does it affect the movement of impulse category products? I would go to a kirana dukan and I would see say a Kit Kat as I exited or near the cash counter. What happens to purchases like that?
Surprisingly, Anant, during this entire period, brands like Kit Kat and Munch have been extremely strong. Contrary to the belief that these are impulse products, and if it's not accessible at arm's length in a shop, it doesn't get purchased. I think we have also been very active on the digital space, on the e-commerce space, and in fact, we've been seeing strong traction. So this kind of belief that people will get into a shell and will not look at indulging themselves, however small it may be, is untrue. I think human beings are yearning for the outside world. They're yearning for happy moments, and I do believe that the upcoming Diwali will be a happy Diwali. I think people will find happiness in whatever they have, and I think internalize the fact that the pandemic is around for a while, and it's good to be safe, it's good to be distanced, but it's also good to be happy. So I think that will continue.
It's interesting because in a conversation I did with a quality research company called Third Eye, they were talking about indulgence being very important. Almost as a rewarding oneself.
Yes.
So how do you see that playing with your categories? Rewarding oneself, saying I deserve this because I'm having a tough time.
Yes, I think that is important, Anant, and I think that's a very important human instinct. When all of us are going through these very, very uncertain times, we really don't know. We can't comprehend the scale of the issues that we are going to surmount. I think as human beings, we seek small comforts in little victories that we are able to do. And I think when you have a little victory, if your laptop has worked, if your meeting has gone well, if your customer has responded, if your friend has returned your call, you feel that, look, something good has happened, and then you want to reward yourself for that. So I believe that this is a time when we will rediscover some of the joys of being human, some of the joys of giving vent to our emotions, seeking those little happiness quotients that till now we thought were inconsequential, but today they are of great consequence. I think thanking, having a deep sense of gratitude for how much this world and relationships have given you. This is the moment, and if you can do that with happiness, I think that's good for all of us.
And that was Suresh Narayanan telling us how businesses and consumer behavior will change after COVID-19. You can watch the full session and other replays on zeemelt.com. The VOD has been extended till 3rd November 2020. Now let's take a look at the Melt cheat sheet. Businesses need to be authentic, empathetic, and prioritize their people and partnerships. There will be a long-term demand for products that promise nutrition and immunity. Quality, trustworthiness, safety, and value will be the most considered brand attributes in the post-pandemic world. With that, it's a wrap on this episode of Melt. To follow us on social media, our handle is Ready to Melt. You can also stay informed on what's happening in the world of advertising and marketing with our daily Melt update on our website, readytomelt.com. And I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Goodbye.